Welcome, everyone. If you're an executive leader, a compliance officer, or the one shaping legal strategy for your company, you are absolutely in the right place. Today, we're going to unpack one of the most high-stakes geopolitical compliance realities facing global business right now, transatlantic data sovereignty. We're looking at a legal collision course that literally threatens the foundations of how modern enterprises operate. So let's dive right into this explainer and explore exactly what this threat is, and more importantly, how you can strategically navigate it.
To really understand the sheer scale of the problem, we just have to look at this massive number, 70%. Amazon, Microsoft, and Google together control nearly 70% of the entire European cloud market. And what that number represents under the surface is pretty staggering. It means the vast majority of European enterprises, and really any global enterprise storing data in Europe, are overwhelmingly dependent on US headquartered infrastructure. And because of that setup, they are instantly exposed to US extraterritorial laws. And that's regardless of where their servers are physically bolted to the floor.
And that heavy reliance, well, that creates the core problem facing global service providers today. It's what legal experts call the inescapable double bind. Imagine a US cloud provider receives a government demand for your data. They are totally trapped. If they comply with US law to hand over the data, they potentially violate strict EU privacy laws. But if they refuse the US law to protect that EU data, they face severe US legal consequences. As an enterprise customer, your critical data is caught right in the middle of this massive transatlantic tug-of-war.
So here is our roadmap for today's explainer. First, the transatlantic data collision. 2, the Article 48 double bind. 3, a checklist for conflicting warrants. 4, key steps for legal teams. And finally 5, architectural solutions.
All right, part 1, the transatlantic data collision. Let's jump straight in and examine the fundamental legal clash at the very center of this storm. In one corner, we have the U.S. Cloud Act, which was enacted in 2018. This law essentially grants U.S. authorities the right to compel U.S.-based service providers to preserve or disclose data within their possession, custody, or control. And the kicker? That applies entirely regardless of whether that data is physically located inside or outside the United States. Now, in the other corner, we have the European Union's formidable firewalls. We're talking the GDPR for personal data and the newly implemented EU Data Act for non-personal data. These EU frameworks strictly prohibit unauthorized third-country government access. So what you have are two completely contradictory sovereign mandates fighting over the exact same servers. Moving on to part 2, the Article 48 double bind. Let's look at how this collision creates a massive exposure trap through one very specific European statutory mechanism. The trap really springs shut because of GDPR Article 48. And this provision is actually fascinating. It explicitly states that a judgment from a foreign court or a decision by a foreign administrative authority that requires a provider to disclose personal data, well, it cannot be recognized or enforced unless it's based on an international agreement. Typically, this means a Mutual Legal Assistance Treaty, or MLAT, between the requesting country and the EU. So a unilateral U.S. legal demand, like a Cloud Act warrant, simply does not legally authorize a data transfer out of the European Union, period. And the European Data Protection Board, or EDPB, has explicitly warned service providers about this. Their official assessment is crystal clear. In the absence of an international agreement, a request from a foreign authority does not in itself constitute a legal ground for transfer. Meaning, providers subject to EU law cannot legally base the disclosure of personal data to the U.S. directly on a Cloud Act request. The EDPB essentially advises that companies should generally refuse direct requests and force the authorities to go through the proper MLAT process. Now, for the executives watching, getting this wrong isn't just some abstract legal headache, it hits the bottom line with devastating force. We are talking about liabilities that include GDPR fines of up to 20 million euros or 4% of global annual turnover. And we've already seen historical penalties reach a staggering 1.2 billion euros in the case of Meta for unlawful data transfers to the US. Add to that the immense reputational damage and the operational chaos if a cloud provider is forced to suddenly halt services, and you can easily see why this is a literal board-level crisis.
Okay, part 3, checklist for identifying conflicting warrants. How do you actually know when your organization is in the crosshairs?
Your operations and legal teams need a rapid-fire operational checklist to evaluate inbound legal threats instantly. First up, is an MLAT in place? If not, direct compliance is highly likely illegal under EU law. Second, does the request target a non-US person? Because if it does, the Cloud Act itself actually provides some limited avenues to try and quash the warrant. Third, is the data physically stored in the EU? And finally, does it involve non-personal data governed by the EU Data Act or personal data under GDPR? Understanding these 4 variables tells you exactly when a US warrant puts your business in direct violation of European privacy laws.
So, you've identified a conflict. Now what? You need a playbook. Part 4. Key steps for legal teams.
The critical starting point we see in the source material is conducting a risk-based analysis of your protection requirements, and you have to do this before a crisis ever hits. You need to map out your data flows, you have to identify potential threats like government access, and categorize your data's protection requirements into normal, high, and very high. This matrix has to take into account the potential financial loss, the reputational harm, or the infringement of fundamental rights if that data were unexpectedly disclosed. You absolutely need this risk matrix to prioritize your defense.
From that analysis, the broader procedure starts to unfold. Step 1 is that risk analysis we just discussed. Step 2 is incredibly important. You must actively challenge the order and seek an ML at route. In fact, the EU Data Act actually requires providers to actively challenge conflicting orders rather than just silently handing over the data. Step 3 involves applying technical security measures, and Step 4 is implementing organizational adjustments to handle any potential fallout.
Let's look closer at those organizational adjustments. What does that mean in practice? Well, it involves establishing a real emergency plan with a dedicated task force. You need crystal clear responsibilities for implementing exit strategies just in case the legal framework suddenly shifts. It also means regular ongoing training for employees and conducting red teaming exercises, literally simulating cyber attacks and legal crises to stress test your defense capabilities. You simply cannot wait until a subpoena arrives to figure out your chain of command.
Contracts alone aren't going to override sovereign laws, so let's turn to Part 5, Architectural and Strategic Solutions, to see how we systematically eliminate this threat.
To literally, physically remove the compliance conflict from the equation altogether, you need robust defenses. This means deploying zero-trust architectures with multi-level authentication and using microsegmentation to isolate your most critical data pools. But the absolute gold standard for high-protection data, that's end-to-end encryption paired with client-side key management.
Now pay super close attention to this, because it is essentially the ultimate cheat code for resolving the double bind. Customer-controlled encryption. But specifically, where the encryption keys are kept completely outside of the US provider's infrastructure. Think about it. If the US cloud provider physically cannot access the keys to decrypt the EU-stored data, they cannot produce readable content when a Cloud Act demand arrives. They actually achieve a standard of technical impossibility under US law, while simultaneously fulfilling the strict data protection requirements of the EU Data Act and GDPR. You are literally solving a complex legal conflict using math and architecture.
Finally, if you want true long-term resilience, you've got to think strategically about the future. For enterprises, this usually means evaluating hybrid cloud models. You keep your highly sensitive core data securely locked within local, sovereign solutions or private European clouds, while you efficiently outsource the less critical, day-to-day workloads to the global US cloud services. This way, you build a fully auditable infrastructure that perfectly balances operational efficiency with uncompromising digital sovereignty.
Well, we have covered a massive amount of ground today in this explainer, from the extraterritorial reach of the CLUD Act to the strict firewalls of Article 48 and the architectural key to solving it all. So I want to leave you with this final provocative thought to take straight back to your executive board. Look very closely at your current infrastructure. Is your cloud architecture actively resolving this transatlantic legal conflict through technical impossibility, or are you just delaying the inevitable crisis? It is a question every single leader needs to answer long before the next data demand arrives. Thank you so much for joining me today. Keep learning and keep building resilient systems.